Dan Lacey. One thing that we're not going to talk about today is money. But I would like to talk about the joy of learning and sharing information with others. That's something that I've internalized as I've grown up, and I want to share that with you here today. In the deaf community, lots of things have happened. We have deaf lawyers, 300 teachers, deaf CPAs. We have deaf engineers, deaf teachers, principals, and even presidents. A lot has really happened, and looking over the last 20 years, there's a lot of progress that is made. The challenge for the deaf community, number one, is our educational system. A lot of the deaf schools in the areas have been closing, and it's really important, and a lot of the children have been mainstreamed into deaf programs. But when this happens, they're very isolated in the hearing community. In the mainstream program in public schools, deaf education system, there's a lot of challenges in the world that we need to meet. A lot of emphasis is put on the multiple choice tests. And that's what the challenge that we really need to meet in this world. There's too much emphasis on the multiple choice testing when the children graduate. And then when they become part of the deaf community, the island of knowledge. Some people excel as lawyers or other types of occupations, scientists. They all vary, and that's great. But you don't see them coming together. The lawyers are over here, scientists are over here. Educational system is not bringing them together. We don't see that happen. And that's what I'd like to talk about today, the challenges of that happening. What we're seeing now is kids are graduating from school and they're having a major in one area but not having a large skill base from other areas. Over at Cisco, the recruiters are looking for skills with management, critical thinking skills, but when kids graduate from college, they don't have these additional skills, only the specialized skill from their major. It's not enough to just have that major in the one area. They need to have a broader knowledge base. That major plus additional information. We want to be able to add critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, many others to really make a more well-rounded candidate when they go into the working world. The president from Cisco was looking for people with these additional skills, and there are also people from other companies doing the same thing as well. They're screaming for candidates with knowledge plus these additional skills. And the educational system is not providing that. The emphasis is only on the testing, but the need is really elsewhere. So how can we better satisfy the demand? I grew up on a college campus. It was a very large campus, and I got to see lots of different points of view there. My father was a philosophy professor, and he had other friends that he worked with there on campus, so I was exposed to many of these different ideas. Science, philosophy, math, all kinds of areas. I got to see information from all the different areas and put them into myself. It made what I call a portfolio of ideas. There's some really great ideas, but what's more important is if that idea is applicable to the situation and how it would work. Will it work in the real world? The idea is good, but it's not necessarily applicable. What's possible? The ideas are great, but the idea is not always a success. So we'll try it out and see what happens. I want to share with you a model that can work in our community. Sharing knowledge within the community. It's called intellectual entrepreneurship, better known as IE. And what does it start with? It starts right here in the community, the deaf community. In 1997, the idea of IE came about, and we wanted to focus on improving skills in a specific area. In the past, entrepreneurial usually meant business, but not necessarily. There's lots of ideas that others have. You can. There's new ways of learning, new ideas. I can see lots of possibilities with that. There's teachers at other deaf schools that call me up. One individual in particular wanted to talk about finance. He wanted to know if we could set up a financial or fiscal class for the deaf students so they could learn more about money. The way we could do this was by creating a new curriculum. We would license the curriculum with other deaf schools and be able to share that information out with the entire community. That's an example of how IE works. We want to bring up a new way of doing things with the curriculum in the schools. That way it can spread out and benefit more of the community. The technology now is all web-based.